dignitarians from all the chapters of India as well as from head office. It's a pleasure to see you all here, and I feel privileged in doing the anchoring for today's session. As we all know that the topic for today is being at peace in all situations by Mr. Sukhdeepak Malviyaji. Being happy and peaceful in today's world supposed to be a big luxury actually.
Yes.
So I'll request our chief dignitarian, Mr. Gopalasthana ji, to please welcome our speaker, Mr. Sukhdev Malviyaji. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you, Madhu. On behalf of Dignity Foundation, I extend my heartiest welcome to Sukhdeepak Malviyaji, who is the guest speaker today. Since this is an ordinary session, it is my pleasure to introduce him to our members from all the centers. Mr. Sukhdeepak is a postgraduate in computer science. Having worked for 14 years in a multinational, he finally found his calling as a trainer and a coach. And today, he is internationally acclaimed trainer and a coach and a highly coveted motivational speaker. He has trained over 20,000 people in about 150 organizations in 17 countries for the last 30 years. He is trained in Moda, USA for UNDP training in communication and management of change. Certified by SDI UK, he spent about 12 years with an international ontological training organization. He is a trained assessor of Edexcel UK.
What do you want?
He has excelled and trained in all healing modalities.
Join dance class.
What
I
is
request everyone to please mute yourself.
Please mute everybody. Yeah. NLP, he is an LP, EFT, STP certified. He is a Reiki Grandmaster. He is a Theta healer and a Pranic healer. He is an Avatar Master and a Vipassana meditator. He is also Access Consciousness Facilitator. You can see he is trained and in almost all healing modalities, a rare feat indeed. For the last couple of years, his focus of study has been on consciousness. And he conducts programs on how to raise SQ, which is a spiritual quotient, and increase intuition. He helps individuals and organizations in getting a peak performance and productivity. Those who have heard him before, they know it very well, that when he speaks, his words spring from the depth of his knowledge, wisdom, and vast experience. And all one can do is to listen to him in rapt attention and spellbounding silence. So I request Sukhdeepak ji, over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. Live transition, you can have sound.
Yeah, so I would appreciate if you mute everybody,
Yeah.
so that we're not disturbed and the voice does not echo. And I feel honored that you people have chosen to invite me time and again. So I must be doing something which you like. And I'm happy about that because, the reason I'm in this field for so many years is that it gives me great feeling of fulfillment when I'm making a contribution to the lives of people, and that's what I'm here for. And I was thinking a lot about what topic should I speak about. So I thought I'll speak about something which is very close to my heart. And that's about peace. I have been from a very early age looking for peace. And then I discovered that what I thought is peace is not peace. So I want you to think about it. When we talk about the word peace, what does it mean? Like when I want to be peaceful, what does it mean? And is being peaceful something that we will find outside of ourselves? Or is being peaceful something that we can generate? So after years and years and years and years and years of looking, I finally went and did the Vipassana meditation, which I then repeated three times. You know, what I discovered there was that, you know, the purpose of meditation is not to escape into some state of bliss. But the purpose of meditation is to train us to be able to be present to whatever life throws at us without losing our equanimity. And that, my friends, I discovered was peace. So I just wanted to say a little bit about that. And now I don't give much value to my experience because I'm sitting in front of people who are far, far more experienced than I am. Okay? I have chosen certain experiences of a certain kind, therefore maybe I have something that I can contribute to you. So the first thing I want to say to you is, be clear who is Mr. Sukhdeepak talking to. So who am I talking to? So I want you to be very clear about that. You are a group of wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary human beings who deserve to be loved and respected for who you are. So that's who I am talking to. You are a group of wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary human beings who deserve to be loved and respected for who you are. For who you are. And having said that, I will tell you something which I realized is the cause of perhaps most unhappiness in life, you know. And that was told to me by a 6-year-old girl in the form of a poem. She said, as a rule, man is a fool. And when it's hot, he wants it cool. And when it's cool, he wants it hot. Always wanting what is not. That's what that little girl said. And I thought those words were very, very profound, you know. When it's hot, he wants it cool. When it's cool, he wants it hot. Always wanting what is not. So if we are always wanting what is not, can we be peaceful? When I'm happy, I'm thinking, okay, how long will this happiness last? So I don't even allow myself to be completely happy because I'm worried about how long will this happiness last. So consider something somebody asked me many, many years ago. He said, Sukhdeepak, what is life? My trainer, my coach, her name is Khurshid Merchant. She asked me one day, what is life? So I said all sorts of things to her. She said, no, this is not life. No, this is not life. So finally, after maybe half an hour of trying, I said, well, life is a series of experiences that occur one after the other. Life is a series of experiences that occur one after the other. Interesting. So if life is a gift and I was given this gift, then all that this gift is that it happens one experience after another experience, after another experience. And let us look at this great, you know, arrogant human beings that we are. This gift that God has given us, there also we want to be choosy, you know. I want only those experiences that I like. And experience that I don't like, God, please keep it with yourself. Unfortunately, He's given it to us already, so there's no question of taking it back, right? So in our arrogance, we don't want experiences that we don't like, and we resist them. And when we resist them, we become even more upset. So what if we could enjoy every little gift that we have, that every moment of this life that we have, if we could be present to it and enjoy it, you know, whether we like it or we don't like it. So what makes us bad? Is the experience bad? Is what is happening to me bad? Or is my judgment of that experience which makes it good or bad for me? So think about it. Kiran, have you made me a co-host?
Yes, sir, you are co-host.
Okay, great. Then I will start by showing you something very interesting.
इतना नजदीक जगह मिला.
Let me start this again.
Yeah, man. Okay, so on the face of it, it might look like a film on rainwater harvesting. Okay, so what do you get out of watching these, my friend? You can unmute yourself and respond.
We should be happy in every situation.
Yeah, very nice. And
Utilize what you get. Use it properly.
okay, very nice.
Make the best out of whatever is available.
Yeah, and maybe, if we are not judging or resisting what is happening, there may be something in it for us. So we are, I think, a group of very, 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 very experienced people. And one advantage of experience is that we have seen many ups and downs in life. And when we look back, at least when I look back at certain incidents in my life, which I didn't like very much when they were happening, and now I look back and say, thank God it happened, because this is what I got from it. And I am who I am because those things happened. But how nice it would be that when those things were happening to me, I was not fretting and fuming and cursing and complaining, All these are signs of resisting. Had I not been doing that, maybe I would have learned the lessons from it much faster. It's a good question to ask yourself. When we are happy, happiness doesn't last for very long. Interesting, isn't it? When we are unhappy, it seems to last for a very long time.
So somebody told me the only reason that unhappiness lasts for such a long time is that that is the only thing that that you are resisting. Because the more you resist, the more it's going to persist. And happiness doesn't last for long because you don't resist it. So it goes away pretty quick. You experience it and it goes. And if we look at life, you experience it and you experience it and you experience it and you experience it and it goes. And the faster, I've seen pain go when you stop resisting it. Okay, so let's do a very small little exercise. Are you guys open to do that? This is an exercise to train ourselves to not resist what is happening and to really enjoy whatever is going on. You can give it whatever name you would like to give it, but let's just do it. So please close your eyes and sit back and relax. I hope everybody is able to hear me. So take a long deep breath, let go and relax. And take another long deep breath, let go and relax. And as you're sitting there, just notice that if you are feeling a little restless here and there, just let it be. Keep your feet on the ground if possible. Keep your back straight and keep on breathing deeply for some time. And then allow yourself to breathe naturally. And once you do that, just become aware completely about what is going on in your mind. Put all your attention into experiencing what is going on in your mind right now. Don't try to change it. Don't do anything with it. Just notice it. No effort is required. It's going on. We've not been noticing it till now. Now you start noticing it. To any sounds that you can hear. You may hear the sound of the fan. You may hear the sound of your computer fan. You may hear sounds outside. You may hear sounds of people talking in the other room or some TV playing in somebody's house or whatever. Just be aware of all the sounds that you can hear. And as you hear those sounds, just let go and relax. Now I want you to think. I want you to remember a time in your life when something happened and you felt very, very grateful. Remember a time in your life when you felt very, very grateful. It doesn't matter what it was, but I want you to remember what it felt like to be grateful. Please get in touch with that feeling that is there when you are grateful. The feeling of gratitude is what is gratitude. So every time I use the word gratitude, please allow yourself to feel the feeling of gratitude. Okay, ladies and gentlemen? And let us start by giving gratitude to this body in which we live. And we will start with our toes. Put all your attention on your toes. These little tiny, unnoticed part of the body. And be aware of how important these toes are for you to support you. आप अपने पैर की उंगलियों पर पूरा ध्यान दें और जो आपकी पैर की उंगलियों की महत्वपूर्णता है उसको महसूस करें. Be aware of how these little toes have been serving you all your life, and allow yourself to express your gratitude towards them, that they've been serving you all your life. Next, put your attention on your feet. अपने पैरों पर ध्यान ले जाएं. Some people have requested me to speak in Hindi, so I'm doing that. Sorry to my Tamilian friends, those who don't know Hindi. So put your attention on your feet, who have been carrying your weight throughout your life, and allow yourself to feel great gratitude for the feet. Next, put your attention on your ankles and be aware of the importance of your ankles on your life. What would it be like if you had an injury in your ankles? How unsightly your gait would have been. And be grateful that they are functioning properly. Take your attention to your lower legs, your knees, and your thighs, all very, very important parts of your body, and allow yourself to express your deep gratitude to them for serving you for so long. Now take your attention and awareness to your lower abdomen, to your abdominal region, becoming aware of all the different organs inside your intestine, your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas, your large intestines, your stomach, your spleen, all these organs which are working so hard to keep your body running. Let us allow ourselves to feel gratitude towards them. Take your attention to your chest, your lungs, which allow you to breathe, your heart, which pumps your blood all over the body, your circulatory system that carries this blood, oxygenated blood everywhere and removes the impurities from your body. Take your attention to your fingers of your hands. It just takes one injury in your hand to realize how important the hands are. So let's give gratitude to them that they are helping us and serving us. Our wrists, our forearms, our elbows, our upper arms, the entire mechanism. Be grateful to them. Take your attention to your neck, which holds your head up, to your throat, which allows you to swallow, your voice box, which allows you to speak, your lips, your mouth, your teeth, how important each one of these are. And let's be grateful for them. Let's give gratitude to our nose, our nostrils, our sense of smell, our eyes, and allow us to see, our ears, our brain, the processing unit. Be aware of your whole body and allow yourself to express deep gratitude to this wonderful body that we've been living in for so long. Now become aware of yourself as a personality. This wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary personality that you are. There is no other human being who is exactly the same as you are. The uniqueness that you are. And let us feel gratitude for that. Now I request you to become aware of those two people without whom you wouldn't have been alive on this planet. Bring them in front of you and allow yourself to feel your love and your gratitude to them. Now go back in time and recall each and every person who came into your life. People whom you liked, people whom you did not like, but each and every one of you came and left his or her mark on you, gave you some learning. Your teachers, your friends, your uncles, your aunties, whoever they were, and allow yourself to feel gratitude to each and every person who came into your life. Now become aware of your very near and dear ones, like your children, your siblings, all those people who are there in your life. Whatever the circumstances might be, they are your flesh and blood. Be aware of them and be in a state of gratitude towards them. Just allow yourself to feel the gratitude. And as you feel the gratitude, you will see the connection. Take your attention now to your home and all the wonderful things that you have in your home that give you comfort, and be grateful for that. Be aware of all those people in the background who provide you support and services. Let's all be grateful to the Almighty that is giving us the opportunity to be here together and enjoying this moment with each other. And be aware of all the other things in your life that you can be grateful for, that you can breathe. There is abundance of air. There's water to drink. Allow yourself to feel that emotion that happens. And whenever you feel that you are complete with this exercise, you can, rub your hands together and open your eyes. All right, so if you're done with it, maybe some of you would like to share what it felt like when you did this exercise.
Wonderful experience. Wonderful experience. Wonderful experience.
My mind was totally at rest.
Yes.
Whether I am also totally rested, sleeping coming.
Very peaceful feeling.
Peaceful feeling.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Can you imagine? Just by being grateful for whatever is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Of the many exercises that I do. Because tell me, what is, once we get on in the years, I think we begin to realize this more than other people would, that the present moment is all there is. That's all there is. We don't know what's going to happen in the next minute. It's a very interesting situation. I was talking to a friend of mine in Dubai, and the whole family had lunch, and they normally have a nap after lunch. So everybody went for their nap. And in the evening at around 5 o'clock, the mother called the daughter, "Beta, come and make a cup of tea." And the daughter never answered, 16-year-old daughter. And when they went to wake her up, she wasn't there. She just passed away, 16-year-old. How grateful we are that we are here. So, look, when you do this exercise, you feel peaceful, right?
I felt.
I felt. Sorry. I felt that later I was going to be in sleep, and it was peaceful, and I saw my pulse rate after finishing. It has gone down to 48.
And when my pulse rate went down to 48, they asked me to go to the hospital and get admitted, you know that?
No, I think I was in peaceful mind.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now the question is, how do we remain in a state of gratitude? I said being peaceful in every situation. It requires a few things for us to do. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. somebody wanted to say something.
So grateful for everything what God has given us. I mean, they are all God's creation. We are also God creation. But all the things attached to it also, I mean, you can't just say your thanks.
We many times take things for granted.
Yeah.
Realize how privileged you have been. You realize the grace that has been in your life all through and feel gratitude. And for that, I'm very grateful.
And you know, it is still there. The grace is there with you all the time.
Yes.
Hello. My gratitude, my father and mother. Hello.
Yes.
When I started thinking of being grateful to different people, I could not end the number of people I was being grateful. By that time, you had stopped the thing. So that was going on and on. So many people I am grateful to for my life.
Well, thank you very much for sharing it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the only reason I asked you to do this exercise was to realize, you know, when we allow ourselves to be in that state of gratitude, are we not feeling peaceful at that moment? Okay. So if we start living our life, you know, moment by moment, because life is happening only moment by moment. So the question to ask ourselves is, what are we doing that we are not peaceful? Because peaceful is a very natural state to be in if you want to. Because what is happening now, that's all there is. This moment, this is it. There's nothing else. So what is it that we are doing? So if you dwell on it, you will find what we are doing is judging, evaluating, comparing. So we live in a state of right and wrong, good and bad. It was like that then, why is it not like that now? You know, earlier he was a very obedient boy. Now why is he not listening to me? See, we have some kind of a programming which says that everything should happen only according to the way I want. And if it's happening the way I want, then I feel peaceful. I wonder even then if you feel peaceful or not. You check it out. What are we actually doing? We are so much in our head, always judging, and most of the time judging ourselves when things are not going right. You know, what did I do wrong in my life that these things are happening to me? Hello, you didn't do anything wrong. You just did what you were supposed to do. I mean, look at us. I think we are a bunch of very, very responsible people who've lived a wonderful life, right? And maybe at this, we have fulfilled all our dreams. We have fulfilled our goals and objectives, right?
Yes. Yes.
But then you see, man is as a rule, man is a fool. When it's hot, he wants it cool. And when it's cool, he wants it hot, always wanting what is not. Now imagine a person who's been very active and engaged vigorously in life, you know. Now there is nothing, I mean, what should I do now? So I've asked a lot of people. My father retired from the army. I said, what? And he was such a vigorous, active man, you know. And then he started withering away. So I said, well, Dad, why don't you do something? I'm an infantry officer. What else can I do? I said, Dad, you can do anything you want to do. So what was he doing? He was judging himself, you know. And see what we are doing, the frames that we put ourselves in, the boxes we put ourselves in. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. I'm old now, so I should not do this. I'm old now, so I should not laugh out loud, you know. A lot of people tell me, Mr. Malvai, are you a joker? Because I'm 68 years old and I'm like a kid with the kids. Well, why not? I mean, God came and told me that I should behave like an old man. You get it? I mean, what do these little fellows, you know, these little wonderful people you look at, those little kids, you know, our grandchildren, how much fun they are having in life. I mean, I used to have fun when I was that age. I could sit and watch these ants, you know. We didn't have these mobile phones at that time or the video games at that time. I remember in Coimbatore, there was cabinet which we had, wooden cabinet, and I would with my pencil make these lines on it, and I was enjoying making those lines on it, and I could do that for hours. So what do they have? They've got curiosity. Let me show you something about this human mind, this great fellow sitting over there, the cause of all our problems in life. So I have this beautiful drawing which I will share with you. And let me cut out all the other stuff not required. Now this fellow is the cause of all our problems in life. I hope all of you can see this illustration drawing which I have. It's about very simplified representation of the human brain. So brain number 1 and brain number 2 are the brains which are being utilized most of all. This here, back of the head, lower back portion, the brain stem, that's a survival brain of ours. A long time back, somebody said to me, I read in a book and I worked with that man for 12 years. A very, very, what shall I say, wise human being. He said, the purpose of the mind is survival. The purpose of the mind is survival. Okay, please mute yourself, ma'am. The purpose of the mind is survival of itself, or whatever it considers itself to be. So this great mind has been made only for our survival. And brain number 1 is the primitive brain which we got from eons ago. And this is what we are using most of the time, unfortunately. And the purpose of this brain is to save us from danger. Okay? And it doesn't have much choice. It's like a computer, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. That's all it can do. Fight or flight, fight or flight. And it's responsible for extreme emotions like rage, anger, passion, fear, terror. Okay? And immediately this brain will react, instant, like this. Okay? And the key driver of this brain is the survival of your opinions, your beliefs, and your convictions. Because this brain thinks that if anybody is threatening your opinions, it's threatening your life. So if anything looks like a threat, it will put you into the fight and flight mode. Now, what happens when we are in a fight and flight mode? Your blood pressure goes up, right? Because you have to fight and you have to run. Your heartbeat goes up. Now, this brain immediately triggers off a chemical. A chemical is released into your bloodstream, which makes this happen. Okay, so the people who are not peaceful and who are agitated all the time, they are in a danger, fight or flight mode most of the time. And they're releasing this chemical, adrenaline, cortisol, all that stuff. Okay. Now, if too much of these chemicals are released in this body, that's what causes these lifestyle diseases that most of us have. Okay. So when these chemicals are released, it will switch off this brain number 3, which is the neocortex or the thinking brain or the rational brain. So I'll explain to you the most important part of your brain and the brain that will give you peace, that will take you in the future direction. That is the rational mind. Unfortunately, when this primitive mind is switched on, your rational mind is switched off. Now, there is a companion to your reactive brain number 1. That's the brain number 2, the midbrain. Now, this midbrain is a kind of analyzer, It is analyzing situations, judging situations, classifying them as good or bad. And this starts working when in a very early age, the programming begins. Something happened when you were a small child, a man with a mustache shouted at you. So it's saying that, okay, people with mustaches are dangerous. So that pattern is stored in the brain. So this brain, which is programmed by your past and by your past experiences, is always judging and evaluating every situation in order to find out, is this dangerous for me or not? Now, if it thinks it's dangerous, immediately it will trigger off brain number 1. The moment brain number 1 is triggered off, this brain, which is the thinking brain, is switched off. So you are just in a reactive mode or a resistance mode, not a rational mode. And in that mode, if you stay, you are not peaceful and happy at all. You cannot be. Now, if you look at this brain number 2, it was programmed long time ago. So the yardstick for it to measure if a situation is threatening, non-threatening is incorrect, because what was true 25 years ago is not true now. But it relates to every situation like it used to be when you were a small kid. So brain number 1 and brain number 2 are the enemies. Why? Because it doesn't allow this brain number 3 to work, because that is the most potent part of your brain. That is future thinking brain. This is where your reasoning happens, reflection happens, discrimination happens. This brain differentiates between thoughts and emotions. This brain loves uncertainty. It says, wow, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. If you look at brain number 2 and brain number 1, it hates uncertainty. It fears uncertainty because it sees uncertainty as a threat. And you see the important thing here. The key driver of this brain is curiosity, excitement, learning, and growing. And you might have seen that. Who has it in the maximum quantity? Curiosity, excitement, learning, and growing? Little children. Why? Because their brain number 1 and brain number 2 has not been programmed yet. It's not been filled up with the kachada, the garbage that we picked up. So the curiosity is there. Excitement is there, learning is there, fun is there, growing is there. And research has proven the more playful your mind is, the more it can think rationally, the more it can plan. So, ladies and gentlemen, you want to be at peace in all situations, then we have to learn to reduce the impact of this brain number 1 and 2. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, we are not facing life-threatening situations. But we react to small situations as though they are life-threatening. Our reactions are the same. So if we start doing practices, simple practices, that puts you in a state of power. So to put yourself in a state of power, I will show you a couple of exercises. Are you willing to try them on? So the first one,
sure.
Before we do it, I want to make you realize one thing. Have you noticed that when something adverse happens, some problems happen or some negative thing happens, our mind gets fixed on that. Our attention gets fixed on that. Yes or no?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
So you're going on thinking about that. Oh, this happened, this happened, and it shows in the face also. Right? So the first exercise we need to learn is to free our attention. We don't want to keep our attention fixed on that negative situation. Let's face it. What is more useful? Thinking about the problem or thinking about the solution? Which is better? Thinking about the solution, right?
Yes, thinking about the solution.
If our mind is fixed on the problem, it's not getting out. People are sometimes so fixed. For 3 days, they are thinking about the same thing. So I'm saying, why do you want to fix your attention on something that upsets you? Yes. And they say, I can't help it. So I say, you can help it. So one simple exercise which I do. All of you are sitting in your room, right? So just follow my instructions. We are going to look at different objects in the room. Okay? And we will look at them for at least 5 to 10 seconds. And we will look at them very intently. You should look at it as though you are a painter and you want to paint it. So if you want to paint something, how carefully you are going to look at it? So let's start. So I'm now looking at my coffee mug. And the more I look at it, the more three-dimensional it looks. I can see the reflections on it. I can see the rim. It seems almost like two sides there is a reflection. I can see the stain of the coffee inside. I can see this beautiful design on it. Okay, so that's the cup. Next, I'm looking at the table clock. and all the lettering on the dial in green, you know, luminescent color. I can see the little, you know, second hand moving. Next, I'm looking at my mobile phone and I'm really looking at it. I can see the reflection of the ceiling on it. I can see these little fingerprints on it. I can see this little touchpad thing which is shining like a mirror. Now I'm looking at the my laptop charger, and I'm looking at my white colored phone charger, and I can see that it's got these little dirt marks on the polythene on top of it. And I'm now realizing, oh, I still not removed the polythene from it. And this little red light on the extension box. So look at 50 objects very intently like this. And like really look at them. So initially you will find that your mind is not fully focused on looking. So by the time you've done about 20-25 items like this, there are so many things in the room. My ceiling fan and the reflection. One wing, there is no reflection. On two wings, there's a reflection. There's a CCTV camera I'm looking at. There's this round lights on it. So look at it like you're looking at it for the first time in your life. We see these things every day. We don't notice them. If you look at your curtains and the folds on it and little embroidery on it, and I can see my wife lying there supine and she's looking at her mobile phone. And I can see this little polythene bag full of papers over there with a blue band running across it. And my other Toshiba laptop on that stool over there. And that embroidered telephone cover over there. Now, when you do this exercise, your attention, which has been fixed, will be loosened. Okay? You get back into the present moment.
Yeah.
You can try this exercise anytime. It works 100%.
Yes.
So the important thing is to get out of here, because this fellow will go on. Why is it happening? It should not be happening. This is not good. It keeps happening to me. Why does it happen? Why am I cursed? You know, my kismat is not good and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what goes on here. So that stops. One very simple method which you can master after some time. I just say stop. Stop. Finish. So that is called freeing up your attention. Okay? The attention which is stuck, I've freed it up. Now, the second exercise which I will ask you to do, you may find it slightly strange because you've never done it before. This is called getting your attention in your control. What is it called? You understand attention? Attention means jo mera dhyan hai. I should be deciding where my attention goes. Okay? Now, all us experienced people in life, we know how quickly our attention is diverted. I may be talking to you, but my attention may be somewhere else. Something happens in the kitchen, some noise comes, my attention goes over there. Somebody rings the doorbell, my attention goes over there. Right? Have you noticed how our attention seems to be at the beck and call of people and circumstances? We are not controlling where our attention should go. Why is meditation called meditation? Dhyan bolte hain na Hindi mein. So you are becoming a master of your dhyan and where you want to put your dhyan. So once you freed up your attention from whatever it was getting stuck with, you know, the problem or something. Now, if you had the power to choose where you want to focus your attention on, would that be useful or not? There's one great man, his name is Dr. Shumatro Ghoshal. He passed away a number of years back. A big management thinker he was, right? He used to say high performers are high energy, high focus people. So even though now we are not supposed to be performers, we are supposed to be performing in the area of being happy and letting other people be happy. Correct? For that also, we must be high energy and high focus. So the next exercise, now sit straight, please. Now follow my instructions. Look in the front, but put your attention on the left side. Look in the front, but put your attention to your left side. Now continue to look to the front. Put your attention on your right side. Continue to look to the front. Put your attention on your ceiling. Don't look at the ceiling, Agarwal sir. Just put your attention on the ceiling. It actually goes. हमारा ध्यान जाता है जहाँ हम लेके जाते हैं. Okay, now I say, all right, take your attention to your school where you used to study. Okay, come back. Now look down at the floor. Please turn your head and look down at the floor and take your attention to the ceiling. Please look down, take your attention to the ceiling. Good. Now keep looking down, take your attention to the wall behind you. Your awareness or your attention, please take it behind you. Good. Now look to your right. Please turn and look to your right. Hira, you can also look to your right. Thank you. Joseph, you can look to your right, please, if you can hear me. And put your attention on your hands. Take your attention to the ceiling. Put your attention on your feet. Now keep looking, now turn and look to the front and take all your attention to your nose. It's a small sample I wanted to give you. Ladies and gentlemen, just like we build our muscles by using them, by focusing consciously our attention where we want it to go, we are mastering, control over our own attention. By and large, our attention is not in our control. It seems to be very fragile. It keeps going. Now, if some of you are meditators and all that, you know what I'm talking about, and you have more control over your dhyana or your attention. Those who don't, they may find something new in this. All right, so we've learned two exercises. One is freeing up our attention. Yeah, getting free from whatever the attention is fixed upon. Second is learning to focus our attention on where we want to take it. All right. Now, before we teach you another exercise, I want to tell you something very, very important. Many of you may know this, but it's a very simple thing. Whatever you focus your attention on, you are going to draw it into your life. So when I say this statement, what do you get out of it? Whatever you focus your attention on is what you're going to draw into your life.
Sir, would you please repeat the question?
It's a statement. The statement is whatever you focus on, you will attract into your life.
Yeah, so you can control what comes into your life.
If you focus on what you want, most people are focusing on what they don't want. See, when your attention is fixed on a problem, what do you think you'll get? More problem. If you focus your attention on solutions, what do you think you'll get?
Solution.
We'll get solutions.
Yeah.
Because see, this wonderful feature of the mind is that if you look at the solution, the mind will start showing you on possibilities how to achieve that.
Yeah.
See, I can keep focusing my attention on all the, sordid horribleness of life, right? I mean, there is enough of it happening. Open the newspaper, watch the TV. It keeps reminding you of how horrible life is, right?
Yes.
So I have a
Yes.
choice, right? Do I want to focus on that, or do I want to focus on what's so wonderful in my life? And because they are wonderful things. You start doing it, you'll be surprised. So Vishwanathan, I have been driving on the Delhi roads in hot summer, even in Bombay. And I've seen these little kids who will sell these little things, like flowers and stuff on the road. They're having a ball of a time, they're laughing, they're jumping, and, at the moment they see you looking at them, then they start, give me money. But actually they're enjoying life, Why? They're enjoying the present moment. And the second thing, a skeptic will say, they don't know anything better. Thank God. Thank God they don't know anything better. We've got everything that we have, but we know better, no? Yesterday, I was talking to my son's father-in-law. He's a very senior guy in the railways, goes in a saloon and all that. So I was telling him about, my late father-in-law's grandfather was the chairman of the railway board, and they used to go in the saloon. So immediately he says, the quality of the saloons is not as good as it was then. Tuck. I said, oh, you got these wonderful railway guest houses. He said, now they don't look so good. I said, why? Because nowadays, we in comparison, we stay in 5-star hotels and all. So our guest houses look pretty bad. You see what I'm saying? Because this mind, this great, fantastic mind of ours is always comparing. It is always judging. Okay? What's the point? If somebody is not judging, he's not comparing, he says, hey, wonderful, I'm sitting here enjoying my lovely cup of coffee. Or somebody is sitting there thinking, oh, yesterday I had coffee in Starbucks. I said, what, you had a coffee for $350? That's better than my coffee. I make my filter coffee. It's wonderful. I'm enjoying it. Look at the aroma. It's my choice, right? So if you see this, it's worse in the younger generation. At least, we learned, okay, be happy with what you have. Doesn't mean you don't aspire for anything else. Then, of course, we've got this lovely human Hindi music which wants you to make you miserable all the time, And we like it, such an emotional ponal pogatum pora, You can be happy in every moment if we learn to appreciate what is there. That's why I started with this, gratitude exercise. Okay. And I've done this with many people. Some people have a problem doing it. Sir, I'm not able to visualize. I said, okay. But can you think? Yes, sir, but I'm trying to think of my parents, but I'm thinking of all the times they were scolding me. I said, okay. Can you not think of the wonderful times that your mummy made this lovely Mysore pak for you, or she gave you this lovely laddu? And no, sir, I remember every time they gave me the castor oil. I mean, look at the programming of the mind. It gets hooked on to all the negative things. Hello? How many times how about the time your father taught you how to drive? Yeah, he taught me how to drive. I remember how many times he hit me on my head. And he said, useless fellow, you'll never learn. What interest have we got in learning or remembering all the things which make us unhappy? What do we get out of it? You know what? If you start thinking, and I've made these people do this exercise, you sit down, ladies and gentlemen, all the times in your life, if you start listing down your accomplishments, even small accomplishments. I still remember the first time in my life, I learned to wash my own backside, My mother was trying to teach me for 6 months, I was not learning it. Then we went for a party in somebody's house, So I was in the bathroom shouting, mummy, mummy. And that very beautiful hostess of our house, she came. And I was so ashamed. Next day, I learned how to wash it myself. And I was so grateful that I learned it. I don't have to face embarrassing situation anymore. So much, if you make a list, you'll see there are many, 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 many more things to be happy about than to be unhappy about. So what's happening? Now, some people are busy, right? So they don't have time to be unhappy. Chalo, kudos to you. Bravo. At least you're doing something which keeps you busy. Problem is when you're not keeping busy, right? The mind has a tendency to brood. So why do I allow it to brood on negative things? Simple. So remember this exercise, freeing up your attention. When it starts brooding, start looking at the object. It brings you to reality. It makes you see, oh, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, right? And then you practice this other exercise of focusing your attention where you want. You see? See, for me, it's natural. The moment I notice negative coming, I'll focus my mind on, okay, now, so what? What do you want to do now? If somebody is talking to me about problem, I'll say, okay, fine, don't tell me about problem. What is the solution you want? Talk to me about the solution. So we are not going to allow our mind to dwell on anything that makes us unhappy, right? That will happen when you learn to focus your mind where you want to focus it. Now comes another beautiful one. This is an exercise, you need to trust me and do it, okay? And you need to keep your brain on one side when you're doing it. Like Aldous Huxley said, the brain and the spinal cord are reducing valves. There's a beautiful book written by Aldous Huxley. It's called Doors to Perception. I read this book in 1968. Wonderful book. Opened my brain up, He says that the human mind is capable of infinite perception. But if you had infinite perception, you would be paralyzed, you will not be able to function. So the brain and the spinal cord are actually reducing valves. They allow only those perceptions to go inside which are necessary for your survival. So 5,000 years ago, this man, Buddha, he sat under a Bodhi tree, and in his meditation, he was able to perceive stuff which today they are perceiving with cyclotrons and billion-dollar equipment. Okay, the human being is capable of infinite perception, but it is not doing so, right? So please keep your brain aside for the next 15-20 minutes. Can you do that, sir? Yes, Agarwal sir, no problem keeping the brain aside, I hope. Okay. हमारी सारी प्रॉब्लम्स जो है ना, ये हमारे दोनों कानों के बीच में रहती है. That is why Sardarjis are very happy, because the Khalistan is there only. I'm a Sardar, by the way. So I've got a lot of Khalistan over here. So close your eyes and relax. Okay, take a deep breath and let go. Let your body be relaxed. If you find any tightness or tension in your body, just let it go and relax. And just listen to my words and follow what I say. So it has been proven beyond doubt that we are only energy. And the entire universe is only energy. And there is energy all around. Okay, you have experienced that energy when you were in love and you were getting that energy. You were experiencing the energy of love when your mother was holding you in her arms. And that was the energy that you're getting. So you're surrounded by that energy. And there's enough of that energy. And as you sit there, I want you to allow yourself to pull the energy into you from all sides. Imagine that the energy is flowing into you from all the objects in your room. The energy is flowing into you from the sky. The energy is flowing into you from the air. The energy is flowing into you from the ocean. The energy is flowing into you from the trees, from the flowers. The energy is coming into you from the people around you. Allow the energy to fill you up. Pull in the energy. It's coming from the top, it's coming from the front, it's coming from the back, it's coming from the side. The energy that is all around you, you are putting it in with your attention. Feel the energy flowing into you, filling you up, filling you up, filling you up. Let it come. More and more and more of the energy is flowing into you. Now, when you're full of this energy and you feel that you cannot pull any more energy, now focus on somebody important in your life who is away from you, whom you love and cherish, and beam that energy to that person. Allow the energy to flow to that person or persons who are important to you, and you crave for them and you care for them. Allow this energy to flow. And as it flows out of you, more energy flows into you. Because that's the way the energy is. It flows out and it's replaced by more energy. So keep on sending energy to your loved ones. Gopalji, send energy to your loved ones. The one you were talking to me about, send all your energy to that person. Let the energy go. Just imagine that the energy is coming into you and then going out to that person, filling them up with loving energy, peaceful energy, kind energy. Just keep on pulling energy and beaming energy, pulling it into you and sending it out to them, to those who matter to you very much. Pulling it and sending it, pulling it in and sending it to those people. Just be in the energy flow. Experience this, energy flowing in and flowing out to those people whom you care for. Keep your eyes closed, Zubeda ji. Follow the instructions. Mrs. Tahir, do the exercise. Yes, beautiful. Keep pulling the energy and beaming the energy. You will feel, some of you might feel some tingling in the palms of your hands, and that's fine. Just keep going, pulling the energy and beaming it out to those people whom you care for. Just be in the flow. Yeah. As it flows through you, it cleanses you. It energizes you. When you have any aches and pains in your body, you can flow the energy to those parts as well. Just keep on pulling the energy, and beaming it to those people whom you care for. And keep doing it for some time. Keep pulling it and keep giving it. Keep pulling it and keep giving it. All right. Whenever you are comfortable, you can stop. And tell me how you feel. Tell me about your experience of doing the exercise.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Very nice. Feel very light. Very light. Like floating.
You feel like floating. Very good. Congratulations.
Different experience.
I felt a warmth in my body and an expansion.
This exercise, this is such a powerful and a wonderful exercise. I cannot tell you. Let me give you a couple of examples. There's this lady in Kolkata, and her sister had not spoken to her for 4 years. Okay. And every time she would call her, her sister would not speak to her. So she did this exercise for about a week. And her sister called her on her own. There's this guy in Dubai who's the head of finance in one company, and they were having a big problem with their client, and the client was being very rude and obnoxious to them, right? So much so that this man never wanted to go to a meeting even. That fellow is very battameez. So he did this energy beaming exercise to this person, and he comes and tells me, sir, I don't know what magic happened. That man was so polite to me, and he had been holding up my payment for the last 6 months. He has released 80% of the payment after the meeting.
My God, lovely.
So there are so many. Now don't raise your expectations, all right? You just give the energy and see. I have seen it working wonders in relationships also. Okay.
Yes.
People who are avoiding you suddenly may not be avoiding you anymore. So trust in it and just do it. See, whatever said and done, you will feel energized. That's for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will feel the connect with the universe, and that's very important. Okay. When you are in the flow of the energy of the universe, it heals you. It makes you peaceful.
I am able to feel the energy flowing through my hands, both the hands.
Beautiful. That means you're very energy sensitive. You can feel the palms tingling, right?
Yes, tingling or.
Yeah. That's how. See, and remember one thing, this energy goes where your attention goes.
Yeah.
That's why it is good to have your attention in your control. Okay.
To be frank with you, I was treating my friend who is in triplicane from here by passing the energy like this.
Yeah. So you've done Reiki or what?
Yeah. He has improved a lot now.
Yeah, it works. Absolutely. I've done it many times and so can you. Anybody can do it. Right? Important thing, see, look, the topic for today is being at peace in all situations. Okay?
Very good.
So if you keep practicing this, art of being in the state of gratitude, number one, raising your awareness, when you are able to free your attention from the problems where it is focused on. See, when your attention gets free, your awareness is more, na?
Yeah.
And then you can choose to put the energy where it should be. You don't want to put the energy on the problem. You're only feeding the problem, right?
People say the quantum touch, the treatment, what they say, thought therapy. The same thing we are following. Thought therapy.
So, look, important thing is this present moment. This is the only moment that I am fully alive. I don't know any other moment. I know only this moment. At this moment, if I am fully present, okay, if I am enjoying it because it is a gift from the God, I have no right to reject a gift that God has given me, right? He's given me this present moment. In the present moment, I can only be happy. And if you focus your attention on all the wonderful gifts that we've had and all the wonder of our life till now, you will say, why am I unhappy? I have so many things to be happy about. Once you start focusing on all those wonderful people who are there in your life, whether they show or they don't show, they care for you. And so much of this energy will start flowing from them to you and from you to them. You will start sensing the oneness that is there. You will feel so supported, so cared for, so secure because the energy is taking care of you. So are these four things very difficult to do, my friends?
No, we liked it. We liked the lecture.
So if you do them, because see, one thing I found out in life, the human being, one great author which I'm very fond of, he used to say, as a man, as a human being, I'm a slave of my habits. What did he say? He said, as a human being, I'm a slave of my habits. If I am going to be a slave of my habits, I will form good habits and become their slave. So I have given you 4 practices. If you start doing them and it becomes your habit, you will be in a state of happiness no matter what happens. One great man told me, he says, you know what, Sukhdeepak, if God came and told you that this is what you're supposed to be doing in your life, would you be happy? I said, of course. If God came and told me I'm supposed to do this, I'll be very happy. He says, good. God has told you to do what you're doing right now. So be happy. So do you have a choice about being happy or not? All right. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your nice participation. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much.
So if you have any questions, we can work on that.
Sir, one question is there.
Yes.
I am having vertigo, and because of the vertigo, I am losing my balance while walking. Now, I like that while walking, it's like that I am walking in the sleep walk or I am walking in the air. I don't have any confidence while walking.
Okay.
So what is to be done?
What does your doctor say?
Because ENT say you have to show your neurologist.
Well, I mean, do you have a cervical problem, my Nita?
No, ENT problem.
Okay, so you should do the medical doctor's treatment, but this energy pulling exercise, if you do more and more of it, it will certainly make you feel better. How old are you?
71.
Okay, you are just a few years older than me. I will be 68 next month. So you not yet. It's the 13th of next month.
Advance happy birthday. Wonderful session.
What exercise to do?
There is a exercise form. It's called Tai Chi.
Tai Chi, yes.
All right. So there are some very, very simple Tai Chi exercises which are meant for people who are above the age of 50. I do them every day. And I used to have this cervical, it's called positional vertigo. I used to have that. So it went away. Okay, so you can try that. And Gopalji, did you ask that Colonel Saab for that 3 minutes yoga program?
Yes, but he cancelled it, We had fixed it already. But he cancelled it because he had to go out.
Yeah, he's in Vancouver. He told me to tell you when he comes back.
Yeah, we'll do it again. He's very good, I know.
So I've been doing that, and it's very simple, If you do those yoga exercises, 3 minutes only 3 minutes, and they are meant for people like you and me.
He will tell it.
And your this dizziness and all, you'll be quite surprised how it will go away. All right. Anybody else? Anything you'd like to ask or say? Anything I can help you with?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
See, this energy pulling exercise. Are we supposed to pull the energy by keeping the hands open to the sky on the lap? And
you can keep it open also, because then that's another, you're pulling in from the palms of your hands also, no?
Or just from everywhere it is coming like that.
It is coming from everywhere. You just intend that the energy is flowing into you. It will. Some people who are more, thinking types, they may have some problem. They say, no, nothing is happening. I can't see anything. Don't worry about that.
Then how
any pen in the hand will do?
We are sending the.
Don't cross your legs.
Anywhere.
Yes, anywhere.
Anywhere, okay.
Do we send the energy through Ajna Chakra or just?
Just send it. Just send it. It goes.
Is this a part of Reiki?
No.
No. Okay, thanks.
Otherwise, if it was part of Reiki, I would have to teach you the symbols and all these things, We're not doing that.
I wanted to ask a question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. When I do the meditation, sometimes I feel sleepy.
You feel what?
I feel sleepy,
Sleep is, when you feel sleepy means your mind is resisting it.
Okay. So how to avoid that sleep? Just keep your mind active.
Don't fight it. In the beginning, you might feel sleepy. You just relax. Go to sleep if it makes you go to sleep. But after a few tries, you will find that you are not sleeping anymore.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
I have got something.
Welcome.
Sir, I would like to ask you a question. That is, my battery went out. So you told that is 4 exercises are there.
What? No, I didn't understand.
I can't hear you.
I can hear you. You please say what you're saying.
Excuse me.
Sorry, ma'am, I cannot hear you.
Sir, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, you told that there are 4 exercises. So actually my battery went out, so I got 3. What is the 4th one? 4th one is the energy.
Energy
the
pull?
fourth, yeah, that's the one. Pulling the energy and then sending the energy. That is the one.
Sending energy, the fourth one?
Pulling and sending is one exercise.
Yes, pulling
First
energy
first you pull it and then you send it.
Okay.
That is the fourth one.
That is the fourth one.
is the
Can we
fourth.
send energy to someone we don't like?
Oh yeah, why not? You might be surprised.
What is the gesture of the hands?
Nothing, just you can keep them open. Don't cross your hand and don't cross your legs. That's all. Be in an open position.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, ji?
I've got something to share.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. See, in my life, I found, and it is, I don't know whether it is a fact, but everybody feels, you also perhaps said so, that whenever there is a unhappiness, there is always some happiness together. It never comes, it's never alone. Dukha is never alone. Sukh is also along with it. It is up to you how you look at the sukh. Now I'll give you an example. A man met with an accident. His right hand was amputated. People used to go and say hello to him and how are you? He said, I'm very fine, I'm very happy. He came back home. He said, I want to celebrate. He said, what do you want to celebrate? He called his friends. He said, I want to celebrate. He said, why? He said, I thank God that my only one hand was amputated. It could have been other hand also and legs also. He says, why? I should feel happy about it. At least I got only this much. I could have got worse than that. So these two things always go together. It is up to you what you look at. Whatever has happened, you can't do anything. So why look at that? Look at the happiness side. Whatever little happiness is there. That is my way of being, and I've been following that.
You know, back in 1982, when I came to Mumbai for becoming a trainer, I met this wonderful person, most extraordinary human being that I've ever met, okay? I was 27 years old, she was 62 years old, okay? She was a lady and the most powerful person. And the extraordinary part of that lady was that she had lost both her legs when she was 11 years old, above the knee, all right? And that lady, she could do anything. She married, she had 2 children. She could go in a taxi, she could go in a Bombay Suburban train. She could climb up and down stairs. She could do anything, okay? So I was quite amazed that how can a person be like that, so powerful, you know? So one day I asked her, I said, Ilaji, or were you always like this? She says, no. What happened? Please mute your microphones, please. Too much of screeching sound is coming. So I asked her, I said, were you always like that? She says, no. I was in Pune when I was 11 years old. I fell down at a railway crossing and the train went over me. And when I saw my legs cut and the blood coming out like a fountain, and I fainted and I thought I'm dying. I must have died. So she says, I woke up in the hospital and I was surprised to see that I'm alive. And then I was shocked and in despair because both my legs were missing. And she says my despair lasted for 5 minutes maybe. And then I suddenly said to myself that if I'm still alive, then there must be some purpose in my life. Okay? And she says, I found my purpose. She says that if a person like me can do everything, then others can also do it. So I decided I will do anything and everything that is possible for me. Then that lady told me something so profound, you know. She said, Sukhdeepak, I focus on what I have, not on what I don't have. I focus on what I have, not on what I don't have. So I don't have these legs, but I focus on what I have. I have my arm, I have my brain, I have my voice, I have my language, and I will use that because there's no point on focusing on something which I don't have. I mean, I was like, that's the day I started thinking, you know, how much we have.
That's the key to happiness.
Absolutely.
That's the key to happiness.
So Agarwal Sahab is asking me to tell that poem again, okay? So I will tell you, as a rule, man is a fool. When it is hot, he wants it cool. When it is cool, he wants it hot, always wanting what is not. As a rule, man is a fool. When it is hot, he wants it cool. When it is cool, he wants it hot. Always wanting what is not. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. That lady came in Karodpati, sir, 3-4 days ago.
No, could not have. She passed away about 10 years back.
Oh.
This must be some other lady.
She's Ela Ghosh.
Beautiful.
Ah, Ela Ghosh, you know her? The lady I'm talking about, her name is Ela Ghosh.
I heard your lecture little, but very enjoying.
Sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you, thank you. And may I take your leave now if you don't have any
Thank you
questions?
so much.
Can you please send?
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much, sir.
coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
sir.
so
Very
much.
fantastic
Thank you very
speech.
much. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Kiranji, are you there?
Madhuji? Yeah.
Auntie, give
Yeah,
vote
yeah.
of thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madhuji. Dear friends, on behalf of Dignity Foundation Mumbai and the Dignity Foundation Pune chapter, we are very grateful to Mr. Sukhdeepak Malvi, who delivered the wonderful talk on being at peace in all situations. It was a very wonderful talks. Mr. Malvi emphasized on how to be happy in all the situations. Also, Mr. Malvi emphasized on what we have. We have to be very grateful, whatever we have in our life.
Yes.
Now, I also thankful to Mr. Gopal Asthana, a chief dignitary of Pune, who welcomed today's guest. And I also thanks to chief officers, Dr. Sujay Joshi from Mumbai, who encouraged us to organize such an all India talk for all dignitary of Pune, all countries of chapters and Chaimasti centers members. Pune chapter team also very grateful to Mr. Rajesh Meher and Sunil Vishwanathan who helped us. And I also thanks today's program anchor, Ms. Madhu Gaur, coordinator of Magarpatta Chaimasti Center, Pune. A big thanks to all dignitarians who access the program link from different chapter, Chaimasti centers, and made this program very successful.
Yeah.
With permissions of Dr. Sujay, it is declared that this program is over. Once again, thanks to all dignitarians and participants of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a nice session.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Pune chapter.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Gopal.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sujaji. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Lovely
Thank you.
section.
Yeah, thank you. Very impressive one now.
Joseph sir, good